I want to say hello to everyone. This is Reverend Jerry Hobby, and I am really excited to be with you today. We are going live today with Larry Hobby, Expanding Consciousness book webinar. Woohoo! How exciting! And so I'm just going to invite Larry to join us right now and just say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Happy day to you. I know it's a great day.
Wonderful. And so with that in mind, I'm going to assume that Larry would love for me to just take a moment and simply breathe with you and just anchor you in spiritual practice. So I'm going to share a quote with you that was shared earlier today. And this is a quote that comes from Ernest Holmes. And it says, "The divine is the substance of all things, and there is everlasting motion and freedom. The spirit is the stream of life throughout creation, forever purifying and renewing everything." And that's what I think about every time Larry brings a book for us. It is about the everlasting motion of freedom expanding itself within each and every one of us. And for many of us, that may mean enlightenment. And for me, enlightenment means awakening to a greater truth, a greater awareness. It means, in a practical way, our lives working in harmony with all. And so that is my focus and that is my commitment. And wow, has the universe given me an opportunity right now with everything going on with the coronavirus and all of that, that has shifted our lives and changed our lives in rich and wonderful ways. So I want to congratulate you all for being here in this moment, participating in this moment with this book study, because I know that what you will hear will support you in changing and transforming your lives. So with that said in mind right now, I'm going to invite you to just join me in anchoring into that consciousness. And we're going to anchor into the consciousness of love. So if you'll just join me right now, just simply breathing, releasing and letting go of everything it took for you to get to this very moment. And as you release and let go of all it took to get to this moment, I'm inviting you to just slow down, let go, and honor the presence of the divine, God in action. So we're breathing right now, and I'm going to invite you to breathe in on the count of 7 and exhale on the count of 7. And I'm going to invite you to just breathe and focus on the energetics of the heart. And as you focus on the energetics of the heart, I invite you to anchor into that space of gratitude, something you're grateful for. Perhaps it is gratitude for the breath, and perhaps it is gratitude simply to be awake, aware, and alive. Maybe perhaps it's just gratitude to be loved or to have someone to love. My gratitude is for my love of humanity. The love that I have for every being on this planet. The gift of the diversity and the gift of creativity expressing through each individual. So if you don't have anything, just lean into my gratitude. And I'm inviting you to amplify that energetic within your body system. And I'm inviting you to amplify that energetic right now within your neighborhood. And I invite you to expand that energetic right now in the world. What I'm knowing this evening is that Larry is self-emptied, and it is spirit that fills him, and it's spirit that reads through him, and it is spirit, that divine light, that divine spark that expresses itself fully and completely as perfect love in action. And I know that the love and the wisdom from this book brightens each participant's life in a sacred way. So I'm so grateful. I simply release these words right now, and I simply allow it to be. So together we all affirm and we say, and so,
And so it is.
amen.
Amen.
So I'm turning this over to you, Larry.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, we left off on page 135 last week, second paragraph, in this wonderful book, I Am God in Disguise, and So Are You. So before we continue, it says, intuition is not our only communication method with spirit. God does speak using words through his many channels. After surrender, you become more in tune to hear these messages. These channels for expression might be your friends, spouse, children, or even the homeless dude on the street. You will soon discover guidance everywhere. You might also discover a book or spiritual teacher that inspires you. There have been times I have felt a message in a book spoke directly to my soul. Always keep your focus on the message and not the messenger. Some of my favorite teachers have said, I am not your guru. Focus on the message and always look within to find your guru. These teachers are no different from you and me. We are all channels of God's expression. The universe has many undercover agents. In addition to the primal language of intuition and looking for guidance through channels, I also feel we can have different communication. What if your computer had even exists? The computer works fine, but you only have access to the data on your local hard drive and the accumulation of past history. One day someone flicks a switch and you have an internet connection. You now have the world at your fingertips. Surrender is equivalent to flicking the switch, but this cloud is truly unlimited. The mind of God now becomes an extension of our human mind. You're no longer limited to the human brain and mind database. We now have access to the unlimited resources of the universal mind. I mentioned earlier how your soul, the eternal part of your being, has been through this process of life many times. You now get to tap into the accumulated wisdom of the soul. In addition, being part of this ethereal world, the soul is our direct communication with spirit, or God, source, or creator. So when I say, upon surrender, your soul will jump for joy, and this is why. The giant has finally succeeded, completing the merger between human nature and divine nature. Your poor monkey mind, who has been working his ass off trying to protect you for so many years, will also get a break. This powerful computer, or your mind, will now be taking instructions from the giant. Let the celebration begin. The results are immediate. A peaceful flow will begin to wash over you. To access this direct communication with spirit, just close your eyes and look within and ask your questions. Be patient. All the answers will come. This inner dialogue is a skill that will develop over time. The experience of surrender is much more than having a personal relationship with the divine, which is often the promise of many religions. A relationship still implies separation. Having this relationship or being aware of the divine within is not enough. We're actually at this level throughout the epic battle. Although this is a good start because it means you are aware, you are still living in a world of separation. There are still a doer, an observer. There are much higher levels to reach. Yogananda said, when you discover this flow, it will be like a river running through you. Jump into this river and drown yourself. He means to merge and become one with your higher self. This awareness might take a little getting used to, but it's worth the effort. This is your birthright. And we're now playing at the highest level of the game. When these 6 magic words, I devote myself to you, become your daily commitment, you'll be amazed how life begins to unfold. This phase of our life's primal divine nature
And Larry, all of a sudden you're slowing down. Okay, we just want to give you a chance to catch up.
I lost my connection.
You're connected. You're fine.
Okay. All right. And the reason surrender feels so good is because you have reconnected with your natural state. This is how you were born into this world. You can now transform into Superman. And just for the record, this term has nothing to do with a fictional superhero. Again, Superman is an abbreviation for supernatural human. The definition of supernatural is godlike. There is nothing fictitious about becoming supernatural. This is part of our evolution on this spiritual path. Something that happens when you learn to communicate with your higher self. Don't feel self-conscious, undeserving, or embarrassed to use the affirmation, I am Superman. This is your birthright. It's time to reclaim your power. I resist having this message lumped into what's often called the New Age movement. This is not a New Age concept. In fact, this is actually an age-old message. This is the same message Jesus was teaching 2,000 years ago. I'm not a religious guy, but I found the quotes below to be very powerful. He says, the Father and I are one. That's from John 10:30. Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? From Corinthians 3:16. Don't you believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority. Rather, it is the Father living in me, doing his work. Whoever believes in me will also do the works that I'm doing, from John 14:10. I was thrilled to find these quotes, since I have long felt that in addition to having the divine within, each of us are cells in the body of God. Jesus was not on a mission to start a new religion. Jesus was a spiritual rebel, trying to awaken the sleeping giant that lies dormant in all of humanity. We are all channels for God's expression, aka God in disguise. Whoever believes in me will also do the works that I'm doing. It's time to embrace this message and become part of a long overdue spiritual revolution. The good news is you can be part of this revolution as a secret agent. Trust me, I know how scary it could be to tell the world how you feel. Do you know how vulnerable I feel right now typing these words? Knowing there's a chance someone might read this? Okay, so let's say you're now aware of your secret powers, but are not ready to go public. You can choose to be on a covert mission. How cool is that? We need more undercover agents. Post-surrender, it will become very obvious that you are surrounded by sleepwalkers. This is perfect. You are embedded exactly where you are needed most. Most people have heard the Gandhi quote, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." This will be everyone's first step on this covert mission. One of the many rewards of surrender is that you will start to be kinder to yourself. Depending on your lifestyle up to this point, you might experience a panic feeling in the beginning, as I did. Oh shit, if I'm hosting God, I better get my house in order. Personally, I was a mess. I was using and abusing drugs and alcohol. My daily routine consisted of smoking, drinking, and eating crap food. I had many bad habits. To say the least, I had spent decades trying to quit these destructive habits, but had no willpower. I was always beating myself up for being weak. Willpower is not required after surrender. You will naturally have the desire to live a healthy lifestyle, to return to your primal way. If I can do it, anyone can. And luckily for us, the human body is very forgiving. Years of abuse can quickly reverse. I was amazed how soon my body bounced back to its natural state of health. I must admit, it was a little weird at first. I unconsciously started drinking tons of water. I couldn't get enough. I also started to crave fruits and vegetables. I later learned this was my body's natural detox process. It's like flushing the toilet. I didn't need to study any books on the subject. It just began to happen naturally. And if you get out of your own way, you will discover your body already has the answers. I felt the urge to get off the couch and start moving my body, like hiking, biking, yoga, etc. I was also craving nature time, which was very strange for a city boy. I recently listened to an episode of Krista Tippett's on Being Broadcast. Krista interviewed the author, Michael McCarthy, about his book called The Moth Snowstorm, Nature and Joy. He's wandering the planet. And this is where we evolved. Where our imaginations formed. The bond with nature is very deep in our tissues. It has only been the last 500 generations since the development of forming that we have been removed. We might have left the natural world, but the natural world has not left us. This explains a lot. Nature is baked into our DNA. It is very unnatural for us to be living in this concrete jungle, spending our days surrounded by artificial light and the hum of electronics. As human beings, we have forgotten our connection to the natural world. We don't even know that we are going through withdrawal. We just know something feels off. And as a civilization, we are becoming more depressed, anxious, and lethargic, but we don't know why. For me, discovering the remedy was accidental. I began to hike, bike, and trail run for exercise. I discovered my hours spent in the forest instantly lifted my mood. I now plan my days to include this natural fix. These life changes should not be considered a new diet or exercise routine. We're simply returning to our primal way. We need to take off our shoes and get dirty. We need to move our asses every day. Bodies in motion. Stay healthy by burning the calories we consume each day. Food is fuel. We need to burn as much as we consume. This isn't rocket science. The quality of our fuel is also important. We wouldn't think of putting cheap fuel into the tank of our precious cars, but we routinely poison our bodies. We need to stop playing dumb. We all know what is healthy and what is not. Turn off the TV. Don't fall for the brainwashing. And with a little effort, this healthy lifestyle will become natural. You will quickly begin to see positive changes in your body, emotions, and attitude. These positive results will be all the inspiration you need. You will notice how these changes affect the people around you. And remember, we're all on a covert mission. Be the change. We need to lead by example. And this is the first step. Know that when you begin to take these changes, those around you are watching. And in addition to the primal instinct of being kind to yourself, you will also become nicer to those around you. In this new post-surrender world, you will become more aware of your connection to others. You have not only discovered your own divine nature, but you also intuitively see the divine in all. You will become an uplifting force in your family, workplace, and community. Again, this all happens naturally. You will soon discover this primal way which means
You can just take a pause. I'm not hearing.
Primal purpose, primal language.
Just a moment. We've lost connection with him.
When I researched the word religion, I discovered the Latin word religare, which actually means to bind or reconnect. This idea of connection is at the core of what I'm calling our primal way. I discovered the same concept when researching the meaning of the word yoga. In the Vedas, the world's oldest scriptures, yoga is defined as union. It is the practice of uniting body, soul, and spirit. Holy crap, everywhere I dig reveals the same treasure. Can the spiritual path really be this simple? The answer is yes. All paths lead to this one truth, one song or universe. This is the common denominator that connects all religions. It is literally the definition of the word religion. The purpose of life is to discover and surrender to the divine within. Reconnect, unite. What a loving and peaceful world this would be if we could all focus on what unites us. I believe this primal way can supercharge any traditional religious practice or be used as a religion of its own. The next stage of this journey is to inspire others on this path. Our heroic mission is to be the spark that awakens the giant in all. You now have the power and the energy to do this. These are the early stages of Superman's development. Slowly but surely, you will begin to see people around you changing. Leading by example is a powerful tool. Just think what would happen if we had millions of undercover agents on this planet leading by example. And as I read the news throughout the day, it often feels like the world is going crazy. I've never really been into politics, but a revolution is long overdue. Again, we start small by following Gandhi's "Be the change that you want to see in the world." Oops. It's a great philosophy, you know, and this leads to changes in our families and communities as well. And these grassroots community movements can grow to inspire changes on a national and global level. If enough like-minded people join together, changes can be relatively quick. Have you heard of the power of the pocketbook? We have the power to choose where we spend our money, or more importantly, where we don't spend our money. Being conscious consumers can force a large corporation to act more responsibly. This is happening now. John Mackey, founder of Whole Foods, has been a leader in the conscious capitalism movement. When John was interviewed by Oprah on Super Soul Conversations, he said, "Love has been in the closet for too long in corporate America. Conscious entrepreneurs will change the world." Now, what does this mean? In a nutshell, corporations are not necessarily evil. A new wave of conscious leaders is driving this revolution. And these leaders understand that business is a voluntary exchange of goods and service. In order to create a long-lasting, successful business model, we must authentically care about all stakeholders. This includes our customers, employees, suppliers, the community, and the environment. Everything is interconnected. The old school model of business as a machine whose only purpose was to generate profit will no longer work in this new world. Again, we have the power to choose where we spend our money. Conscious consumers will help drive this revolution. We also need to get organized and vote together. There's a power in numbers. And as we progress along our spiritual path, we will begin to see our leaders in a new light. Our bullshit detector becomes very sensitive. We'll begin to demand more. Although I mentioned organizing with like-minded people, it's critical that we do not lose our civility in this process. The Institute for Civility in Government defines civility as follows: claiming and caring for one's identity, needs, and beliefs without degrading someone else's in the process. About disagreeing without disrespecting. See common ground as a starting point for dialogue about our differences, or being present even when we have deep-rooted and fierce disagreements. If our only common ground for organizing is hate towards the opposition, this downward spiral will never end. It often feels like we have forgotten the values of this country was founded on. You don't need to become an activist, but at a minimum, we all need to get out and vote. The small percentage of Americans who actually exercise this civic duty is embarrassing. If you don't like what you see, let your voice be heard. I believe this Trump era will prove to be a blessing in disguise. Everything happens for a reason. It has become a wake-up call. Should I continue?
Yes, you shall.
Okay. Where I left off was, I believe this Trump era will prove to be a blessing in disguise. Everything happens for a reason. It has become a wake-up call to the world. Brene Brown, in her book, Braving the Wilderness, discusses the power of collective joy and collective pain. She explains that during these highly emotional states, we feel a sense of connection to our fellow man. Like Brene, I've lived in Houston for many years, and we've directly experienced this theory many times in our hometown. For example, I have witnessed the collective pain brought on by some devastating hurricanes. Nothing seems to bring people together more than a natural disaster. Brene says, when the rescue boat pulls up to your house, they don't ask who you voted for. I believe this connection is the primal instinct. It is in our DNA. And on the flip side, I took my son to the World Series when the Houston Astros won in 2017. The collective joy felt on the street was amazing. It was like a big group hug. It didn't matter if you were young, old, rich, poor, black, or white. Unfortunately, it often takes these dramatic highs and lows to activate these instincts. Maybe the turmoil created by this political era we are now experiencing will trigger our primal instinct to come together for a common good. I already see this shift happening. People are starting to get energized and organized, taking a stand against fear-mongering and hate. This slow downward spiral started long before Trump, but maybe this is exactly what was needed to speed up the process and begin our recovery. And remember, no mistakes. I know you're probably sick of me talking about all the rewards associated with surrender, but there is none better than knowing you are safe and secure in the arms of your Creator. Anxiety, fear, and worry begin to melt away. You can finally relax and enjoy the natural flow of life. I can now see how all experiences have been for my benefit, leading me to this moment. Now that you're listening to guidance from within, you will naturally make fewer mistakes. Life literally becomes easier. You begin to listen to your intuition, and good results follow. You build a new foundation based on these positive results. You begin to gain confidence and faith. Don't get me wrong, you'll still make some mistakes, and bad stuff can still happen, but it's different. You're coming from this peaceful place where you feel secure and protected. Your intentions are good, and you don't need to live in fear anymore. And it's time to remember that we're born into royalty. You are the son and daughter of the King. Do you understand now why it was necessary to forget? If we are aware of our divine nature throughout the early stages of development, we would have never voluntarily gone into the darkness to learn the lessons needed to strengthen us in preparation for this heroic mission. To be effective leaders, we needed to experience all stages of life in order to have empathy and understanding for those who are suffering. And we're now ready to return. We fought against life for so long that sometimes being in the flow feels too good to be true. God doesn't grant access to these powers until he knows you are ready. And surrender was the next step. Okay. Surrender represents the union of body, soul, and spirit. The soul has successfully completed its mission to reunite body and spirit. The giant has to become a master negotiator to facilitate the most important measure humanity will ever know. And this is the purpose of creation. This is the game of life. For those who are wondering, the story does not end here. No, we don't surrender and disappear into a puff of smoke. The final stage of this game is magical. This new awareness has transformed the body and soul into a Superman. Now, this chapter was all about our powerful human nature finally surrendering to the divine within. The bodyguard found the courage to be vulnerable and hand over the controls to the giant. It is time to move from surviving to thriving. Body and soul have reconnected. To be more accurate, they were never really separate. This reunion occurs when the illusion of separation is exposed. Surrender represents fulfilling part 2 of our primal purpose: discover, surrender, inspire. A daily meditation practice is essential to keep the line of communication open with our source. This conscious communication is one of the many rewards of surrender. In addition to meditation, using affirmations is a great way to collaborate with the soul. Start practicing these communication skills now. Don't waste another day. Like any new language, there's a learning curve, and we will need to be fluent to excel in the next stage of this amazing journey.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Right. If we can just bring it to a close here.
Yes.
I believe we have one more chapter and we are complete.
Yes.
With this. So we will complete that chapter this coming week. But I just want to commend you. And this final chapter is bringing it all together. I noticed that in this chapter, we can find how see how current it is and appropriate it is. We are talking about real life characters. We're talking about what is going on now. It's almost as if the author could foretell that we would be going through what we are going through at this very moment. I want to open the floor up for discussion right now to see if there are any comments or anything anyone wants to share.
I just wanted to say, Brother Larry, thank you. I needed to hear that. Sometimes we just need to uh, refocus so we can remember to know the truth. So I just wanted to say thank you. That was very encouraging. Things don't just happen. Things happen for a specific reason. We know that. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And this is Tom. This is great information, and I just really enjoy every week listening to you guys and just getting valuable information to be able to marinate and just soak in and to be able to share with others. So thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Mm-hmm.
There definitely was some really good stuff, and it hit on some interesting things. Being aware where we're purchasing our purchasing power, how we're lending our energy, and I'm going to call it more of an energy towards good, focusing on that good as opposed to those things that are no longer serving us. So that gives strength and power. If we focus on a world that works for everyone, part of that requires of movement. And that is what I heard in this chapter, a movement towards where it is we desire to go. I love the idea of being, what is it? It's not about Superman, the fictional character, or the cartoon character of Superman, but being a supernatural human. Is that correct?
Yes, which means God-like.
God-like. Which brings us back to the point that we are all God in disguise, and this is a great discovery that is unfolding for us right now, which is an important truth for us to be aware of, especially during this era. So in a practical way, what that means is when we get frustrated and we think we're about to lose our mind, when it seems like our kids or maybe perhaps our spouses are getting on our last nerve during this time period, we can take a deep breath and take that deep breath and simply remember who we are. That great I am exists within all of us, and that great I am is God in disguise, creating itself as a blessing, and to look for the blessing in the moment. I would like to remind you all that there's so much going on right now, and that it is important for us to stay engaged. That last thought just triggered for me to remind everyone it's important for us to stay engaged and plugged into our spiritual practice. It will move us through this. It's going to move us over whatever adversity we may be incurring, may be experiencing at this moment. And we also remember these words here with God. And when I think about God, I think about this God energy, this divine essence. All things are possible. We're part of that. So we can take and transform these things in our life. So I encourage you to stay plugged in. So I'm going to invite you guys to join us this coming Saturday because we're starting a new series. And this new series is Science and Spiritual Practice. We're going to look at the science behind certain things and how spiritual practice is supporting us. And the first of the series is Science and Spiritual Practice, Qigong. And I'm so excited about that, to hear from a scientific perspective and the opportunity to practice is going to be wonderful. So join us live here on Facebook and come ready to move because Qigong has a lot to do with energy flow, and we're going to be moving God energy. I believe, and it is from my personal experience, that when we come together and we start doing this, I believe that we're going to make a transformation, and there's going to be a transformation going across our social media. I believe that we will create a transformation within our neighborhood just by our all coming together. So I want you to tell the whole world about this event and bring them all to this particular page at 11 o'clock. We're going to spend 30 minutes together doing something extraordinary. And of course, you notice that both Larry and I have not changed our background. We're getting ready for Prosperity Plus 3. And I think you've heard several of the members of our leadership mention Prosperity Plus 3, which takes place next Tuesday at 6:30. If you're interested in being a part of this, send a request through Messenger, or you can just go to our webpage. We'll have some information posted in terms of how you can join this particular group. And finally, we will be back again next Wednesday. Larry, do you have an announcement for us in terms of what that next book is going to be?
Yes, our next book is entitled Our Invisible World by Bill Anderson and Annie P. Clark.
And Annie P. Clark? Is that Reverend Annie P. Clark?
Reverend Annie P. Clark, right. Uh-huh.
Wow. Well, I'm excited and I'm looking forward to that. Maybe, perhaps, I don't know, maybe we can invite her depending on the time zone.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll come and pop in and sit with us a little bit with that book.
Like I said, the book, Our Invisible World, it's about reflections on the awesome love. You guys got that?
Well, we got part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to
Yeah,
blame technology.
it keeps freezing up for some reason.
Okay. So what that tells us is time for us to pray ourselves out, take a little breather, let everything settle among itself. But I'm looking forward to you guys this coming Saturday. I think we're going to have a great time. So if you'll just breathe with me once more, we give thanks for this wonderful presence, this wonderful light, this wonderful blessing of being God in disguise, knowing that it's our true heritage, also knowing that it is the heritage of each and every single person we come into contact with. So we move past all the outer appearances and glean into that consciousness and tap into that consciousness which is true. And as we tap into that consciousness, which is nothing more than God energy moving and expanding itself within all of life, we anchor in this presence. We embrace this presence by blessing it and honoring it. We move into a place of reverence. And in this place of reverence, we know that the healing power, that healing presence fulfills itself. So in this very moment, right here, right now, what I know is it's alive and thriving at every point in the world. I'm acknowledging it as the center and the conference and the healing presence in the core of life. And wherever I take my attention, I know that something is awakened and something takes place in this very moment, right here, right now. I know that there is a mighty blessing expanding itself and anchoring itself, awakening in itself, and demonstrating itself. I know it to be true for all the children of the world. I'm knowing it to be true for those that are moving through medical challenges. I know this to be true about people moving through so much in terms of relationships, in terms of work, in terms of their prosperity. I know that that essence of spirit has already awakened itself. And I know that in this very moment, there is a demonstration of goodness. And that goodness is the goodness that we all ought to have. And I know that it is unfolding for us right here and right now. I know that it is part of the shift of this planet. So in this space, as we move from here today, I know that we are lifted up. We are blessed beyond that which we cannot even imagine. I know it is perfect and I know it is good. And I'm inviting you all to affirm with me and simply say, and so it is. Amen.
So it is. Amen.
And I'm just inviting you to join us again. And if you like this prayer, I want you all to send me a heart back. Send us a heart back and join us next week. Have a blessed week. Namaste.